See what you did, Stephanie? Do you see the problems you have brought upon this team with your antics this season, Stephanie White? This is what you have done. Now we have to contemplate. We have to think about the what ifs. What ifs that shouldn't even exist because of the antics and the foolishness you pulled.
What's up, basketball fans? We've got to dive into something that's been bubbling beneath the surface all season long. While everyone's busy hyping up Indiana's success and arguing over Kelsey Mitchell's contract, there's a full-blown storm brewing that could tear this franchise apart. And it centers around one player who's been disrespected, benched, and treated like she doesn't matter: Lexie Hull. The heart and soul of this team has been sidelined, and what's happening behind the scenes will make you question everything about Stephanie White's leadership. Because here's the real story nobody's telling. Lexie Hull is a free agent. She has choices, leverage, and every reason to walk away from the team she helped rebuild from the ground up.
6 Lexie Hulls is a free agent this offseason. The Indiana Fever will protect her in the expansion draft, whatever. And Lexie Hull's going to have suitors. With the way she performed down the stretch and in the playoffs, the way she was guarding, the way she had a couple big nights shooting the basketball, Lexie Hull is going to have suitors. You better believe the Portland Fire will be interested. The Seattle Storm will be interested, and they will be willing to probably pay her top dollar.
Let that sink in for a second. 6 Lexie Hulls. That's what she turns into when you actually give her minutes. When injuries forced Stephanie White's hand and Lexie finally got consistent playing time, she went off. She was everywhere, locking down elite scorers, diving on the floor, hitting clutch threes, and doing the gritty work that defines real contenders. But here's the crazy part. Even after proving herself time and time again, White still found ways to stick her back on the bench. And now, Portland is circling. Seattle's preparing a serious offer. Other teams are quietly saying, if Indiana doesn't want her, we'll take her in a heartbeat. This isn't just free agency buzz, it's personal. What White did to Lexie goes way beyond basketball strategy. It's about broken trust, unchecked ego, and a coach who dismissed everything Lexie Hull had already done to help rebuild this franchise long before she ever showed up.
The bonehead, Stephanie White. Let's be clear. Lexie Hull got straight up played and disrespected by this new Fever regime. Kelly Crosskoff, Amber Cox, Stephanie White straight up disrespected her. They acted as if Lexie Hull was not a part of the core 4 who helped turn this team around. It wasn't just CCAB and Kelsey. No, Lexie Hull was a huge part of that. A huge part of that before Stephanie White got here. Stephanie White came to the Indiana Fever and straight up disregarded everything Lexie Hull.
Straight up disrespected. No exaggeration needed. That's exactly what happened. Let's be clear here, because this right here is the core of the problem. Before Stephanie White ever walked into Indiana, there was a foundation already built. A core 4 that carried this franchise from irrelevance back to relevance. Caitlin Clark, no doubt. Kelsey Mitchell, of course. Aaliyah Boston, naturally. But the 4th? That was Lexie Hull. She was the glue. She earned Clark's trust on both ends of the floor, became the team's defensive heartbeat, and willingly sacrificed stats and spotlight for the good of the group. Then Stephanie White rolls in with her new direction. And what's her first move? She brings in DeWanna Bonner, an aging vet who's closer to retirement than peak form. Gives her a massive contract, a starting job, and instantly pushes Lexie to the bench like her contributions meant nothing. That's not just a basketball decision. That's a slap in the face. For Lexie, the message couldn't have been louder. All that hard work, all that heart, all those nights grinding to rebuild this team, erased. She wasn't outplayed. She was overlooked. And the person doing it was the very coach brought in to reward effort and build chemistry. Instead, White dismantled it piece by piece, starting with the one player who embodied everything the Fever claimed to stand for.
All of a sudden, DeWanna Bonner quits on the team. She's no-showing it. She's no-showing work while receiving payments. Stephanie White is getting on the camera, lying to us, acting like everything is all good, lying to us when you knew everything wasn't all good. You knew that. Only for an article to come out the same day DeWanna Bonner refused to return to the team. You think Lexie Hall don't remember that? You threw me to the back burner for her and she quit. She didn't even have the decency to contact us, her teammates, and let us know she won't be coming.
You think Lexie Hull forgot that? Not a chance. Athletes don't forget disrespect. They remember every slight, every benching, every time they were told without words that they weren't good enough. They store it away like fuel, ready to burn when the moment comes. And in Lexie's case, that moment came the second DeWanna Bonner bailed. Let's call it what it was. She quit. No warning, no conversation, no explanation to teammates. She just vanished. Meanwhile, Stephanie White stood in front of the media pretending everything was peachy, selling the illusion that the locker room was unified and focused. Behind closed doors, though, chaos. Bonner had already mentally checked out, skipping practices, ghosting team functions, collecting paychecks like a part-time gig. Then the bomb drops. Reports confirm she refused to return to Indiana. Imagine how that hits Lexie. The very player she was benched for abandoned the team, and the coach who replaced her lied to the public about it. And now, suddenly, they need her again. Not out of belief, but out of necessity. That's not redemption. That's damage control. That's not respect. That's desperation wrapped in hypocrisy.
Okay, DeWanna Bonner skips town. Lexie Hall steps in, plays great basketball. Sophie Cunningham was dealing with an injury. Sophie Cunningham gets healthy. What do? What did Stephanie White do, y'all? Threw Lexie Hall to the back burner again and benched her. For no apparent reason. And I'm going to show you because I remember the cluster of games where I'm looking, I'm like, damn, Lexie not getting no.
So Lexie steps back in and does exactly what every real Fever fan knew she would. She dominates. She brings energy, grit, and poise. Suddenly, Indiana's defense looks alive again. Caitlin Clark has her trusted running mate on the floor, the ball's moving, the chemistry's real, and the team starts clicking. Everything feels right. But then Sophie Cunningham gets healthy. Solid player, great energy, no shade to her. But what does Stephanie White do? She benches Lexie, again, no logic. No explanation. Just gone from the rotation. After saving the team from the Bonner meltdown, after proving her worth for the 100th time, Lexie gets sidelined like none of it mattered. And that's when you realize this isn't about performance. It's about control. White's system isn't built on merit. It's built on ego. If you don't fit her version of the plan, you don't play, no matter how much you've earned it.
This cluster of games right here, Lexie Hall, she played 15 minutes, 18 minutes, 14 minutes, 19 minutes, 21 minutes, 19 minutes, 19. Bro, in July, she wasn't even cracking 20 minutes a game. Lexie Hall, 6 Lexie Halls could not get 20 minutes in July.
Just look at the numbers. They don't lie. July was supposed to be the stretch where teams sharpen up for the playoffs. But for Lexie Hull, it turned into a masterclass in disrespect. She couldn't even sniff 20 minutes a night. 15 one game, 18 the next, then 14, then 19. That's not rotation balance, and that's a demotion. And here's the wild part. This was the same period when Indiana's defense was falling apart. They were desperate for grit, for intensity, for someone willing to do the dirty work. You know, exactly what Lexie brings every night. But instead of trusting the formula that worked, Stephanie White kept her chained to the bench, chasing lineup experiments, starting Aari McDonald next to Caitlin Clark, forcing Sophie Cunningham into a role that didn't fit. Every lineup got a shot except the one that actually worked. And when you look at the film and the stats side by side, it's crystal clear. Lexie Hull wasn't benched because she wasn't performing. She was benched because someone upstairs refused to admit they were wrong.
If you think Lexie Hall and her agent are not thinking about this, you have another thing coming. And if you think you are going to be able to get Lexie Hall back for dirt cheap, you have lost your mentals. You've lost it. Lexie Hall is going to be a commodity this offseason. You're going to have to pay top dollar.
This is the wake-up call Indiana can't afford to ignore. If you think Lexie Hull and her agent aren't already deep in talks about her next move, think again. Because when free agency hits, the offers are coming, and they won't be cheap. We're talking starter-level money, not bench filler checks. Every single front office in the WNBA knows exactly what Lexie brings to the table. A relentless defender who never demands the spotlight. A glue player who elevates her teammates. A competitor who does all the little things that win playoff games. She doesn't need isolation plays or stat padding minutes. She just impacts winning. That's rare, and it's valuable. Portland Fire, building their foundation from scratch, would kill to have her energy and professionalism. Seattle Storm, rebuilding around youth, desperately needs her defensive edge and leadership. Even title contenders like New York or Las Vegas would find a way to make room for her. Because players like Lexie Hull, the ones who do everything right every night, are the ones that push contenders over the top. If Indiana doesn't realize that soon, someone else will.
Just like you went and promised DeWanna Bonner things, just like you clearly went and promised Natasha Howard things, which is why she could stink it up all year and you never benched her. You need to go ahead and let Lexie Hall know, hey, we're going to pay you good money and you are going to be a starter. You are a part of the core four. You will be a starter. You had no problem promising DeWanna Bonner stuff. You had no problem promising Natasha Howard stuff. She's walking in talking about winning MVPs and all types of nonsense. You need to have that same energy for Lexie Hall because she earned her keep here with the Indiana Fever.
Here's the truth Indiana doesn't want to face. Their priorities are completely upside down. All offseason, it's been, we have to bring Kelsey Mitchell back. Every headline, every quote from the front office sounds like a love letter to one player. And sure, Kelsey's an elite scorer, no question. But where's that same urgency for Lexie Hull? Where's the public praise? The reassurance that she's part of the long-term plan? Indiana had no issue handing out big money to DeWanna Bonner before she even laced up. And we all know how that saga ended. She quit. They hyped Natasha Howard like she was about to reinvent the postgame, gave her the spotlight, and got inconsistency in return. Meanwhile, Lexie's been the rock, the defensive engine, the steady voice in a chaotic locker room, the player Caitlin Clark trusts the most. And yet, she's the one treated like an afterthought. That's not just disrespect, it's self-sabotage. Because while Indiana's chasing headlines, they're about to lose the one player who quietly holds their entire system together.
I ain't heard you say it. Don't sleep on Lexie and let somebody else don't let nobody else take your groceries. Don't let somebody else come in and steal your groceries. I'm telling you, because they will. Stephanie White has put the Indiana Fever in danger of losing Lexie Hall due to her bonehead moves and her negligence. Throwing that woman to the back burner when she was damn near the heart and soul. It's everywhere. She out there playing with two black eyes, all types of stuff. And that's the woman you kept throwing to the back burner? Is this
playing with two black eyes? That single image tells you everything you need to know about Lexie Hull. She's not chasing highlight reels or padding her stats. She's out there because she loves the grind, the contact, the sacrifice. She bleeds for her team, literally. That's what makes this whole situation so infuriating. Stephanie White didn't just overlook Lexie. She disrespected the very essence of what makes a competitor valuable. Hull is the kind of player championship teams are built around. Relentless, selfless, fearless. You don't bench that. You build around it. But instead, White chose ego over chemistry, optics over effort. And now the entire locker room sees it. What message does that send? That hard work means nothing? That loyalty gets ignored? That doing everything right only earns you a seat on the bench? If Lexie Hull, the most reliable team-first player on the roster, can be treated like a spare part, what hope does anyone else have? This isn't just bad coaching. It's a culture problem. Because when your most selfless player gets punished for doing things the right way, It's not the player who's broken, it's the system.
Lexie Hall can consider leaving the Indiana Fever if she does not get the proper promises from Stephanie White the same way that Dewana Bonner and Natasha Howard got them. And I would.
This is the point where Lexie Hall has every right to explore her options. If the Seattle Storm picks up the phone and says, "We'll give you a max contract, a guaranteed starting role, and we'll build our defensive identity around you," why on earth would she stay in Indiana? What has the Fever done this season to earn her loyalty? Stephanie White created this entire mess with her own short-sighted decisions. She put faith in aging veterans who flamed out while marginalizing the young player who had already proven herself. She rewarded players who quit while punishing the one who never stopped fighting. And now, Indiana's on the verge of losing a cornerstone because their coach couldn't recognize what was right in front of her. If the Fever want to keep Lexie Hall, they need to act like she matters. That means real commitment, not vague quotes about valuing everyone, but concrete guarantees. A starting role, a significant contract, a public statement that she's a foundational piece of their future. Anything less, and they'll lose her to a franchise that actually respects her grind. Because Lexie's not going to stay loyal to a system that treats loyalty like a weakness.
But if she said, "Hey, Seattle Storm, they're going to give me a max and I'm going to be a guaranteed starter. If you guys aren't offering me the same and valuing me that way, then I'm going to leave," I wouldn't blame her. Get down in the comments and let me know what you think about this.
This is the real crisis Indiana's facing this offseason. Not just whether Kelsey Mitchell re-signs, but whether Lexie Hall finally says enough is enough. Because if she walks, it's not just a roster loss, it's a culture loss. You can replace talent, but you can't replace heart, grit, and the kind of player who bleeds for the jersey. The Fever can't keep preaching team first while benching the one player who embodies it. If they don't fix this now, they're not just losing Lexie Hall. They're losing the foundation that made this rebuild possible in the first place.